Okay, so I have some seniors with us today who are going to talk about Trojan Pride. So these are all seniors at Fairfield High School, and so to start this off, we're gonna have them introduce themselves. They're gonna kind of give some activities that they are involved in, and some of their either most memorable moment or a favorite middle school class or teacher. So you guys can go ahead and start introducing yourselves.
Hi, I'm Samira McLean. I'm a senior. I'm involved in the fall play. Right now, I'm in a group speech team where I'm the stage manager for the one act play, and I'm also in ensemble acting. And in the spring, I do soccer. And also outside of class, I also do a lot of art projects. I spend a lot of time in the art room. One of my favorite teachers, actually my most favorite teacher I've ever had, would be Mrs. Bishop.
Okay.
Hi guys, my name is Claire Epperson. I'm involved in FBLA, band, cross country, NHS, Vox, jazz band, student council. Lauren and I are the FBLA co-presidents this year, so we love doing that. One of my favorite classes and experiences, I guess, in middle school was Mrs. Blakely's science class in 7th grade. That was my favorite.
Well, my name is Blair Grunwald, and I'm a senior. Not really involved in a lot of activities, mostly band, choir. I do some theater work. I mostly do like lights and sound for the theater. My favorite class and teacher, it's actually kind of combined, is Mr. Copeland and Shank.
I did not bribe him to say that, by the way.
All right, my name is Lauren Kramer, and I'm a senior, and I've been involved in FBLA, Student Council, NHS, band, volleyball, and jazz band. I would say that my favorite class and teacher would probably be Mrs. Shirk's 8th grade science class.
Hi, my name is Kevin Kretz, and I'm a senior. I'm involved in swimming, the track team, choir, jazz choir, band, marching band. And my favorite middle school moment was probably National History Day with Mrs. Edlin.
Great. So as you guys can see, every one of these students here have been highly involved in activities here at the high school. And a lot of that started back in the middle school days. So how has being involved in activities been beneficial to you? Who wants to start us off with that?
I'll talk a little bit about that. I think activities are really helpful because if you get started right away with activities your freshman year, you get to meet a lot of new people and you get to experience different parts of the school, and you can kind of find out what you like, and it's a great way to get involved.
Adding on to that, being in activities is a really great way to meet new people in high school, people that might be in different grades than you are. And it can also help you grow friendships that you already have with people. So I cannot endorse it enough, being involved.
I'll build on it a little bit with time management. Activities help you with time management. You're going to have a lot of things that you have to do. You're going to have homework. You're going to have classes that you just need to work on anyway. And with activities, if you're in activities, it's going to help teach you time management, because you have to make sure that you do get all your work done. And time management is one of the most key things I will say about high school is you need time management.
Yeah, stemming off what Blair said, time management is pretty important because you need to know where you need to be at what time, and to make sure that you can fit all of your activities that you want to do into your schedule. And I also think that being involved in a lot of activities keeps you accountable. To be in any activity, you have to keep your grades up, and that keeps you accountable for your schoolwork and being in the activities that you want to be.
I also say that it's also a lot of dependability. It's not just you that's involved in these activities. A lot of other people are counting on you. So you need to keep your grades up. You need to show up. You need to put in your best effort in everything that you do.
Great. You guys have really great points and why activities are beneficial. So that's great. So now as you look back, how has Trojan Pride helped shape your thinking and your actions? And so remember, we think about Trojan Pride, we think about being prepared, respectful, having integrity, being dependable, environmentally aware and safe. How have those things shaped your thinking and your actions?
I think the idea of,
Remembering, go
sorry,
ahead.
you
Go ahead,
can go.
Sarah.
Okay. Well, I think the idea of Trojan Pride is really like the basis of how to be a good person that contributes to society. You need to be like positive and motivated, but also respectful to others and considerate of other people. And then also just be someone that people can trust and rely on too.
Yeah, and remembering and acting on each pillar of Trojan Pride really helps. It makes your schoolwork a lot easier because you'll always be ready for whatever comes next, and your teachers will really appreciate you being prepared and respectful, and it's really helpful.
Yeah, I think dependable is a big one because they're in your activities or in your schoolwork, people are always counting on you to do your part or do your work so that you can complete the class or do the activity the right way.
Going off of what Lauren just said about being dependable, some people think even if you're not the star player on a team or something like that, that the other players don't depend on you. They still do, because what happens if someone get hurt or something like that? They still depend on you, and Trojan Pride helps you with all those other things because you have to go and respect others and stuff in order for them to respect you. And it's just part of being a nice person.
I think remembering those 5 aspects of Trojan Pride, they help you be successful in middle school and high school, in all aspects of life. It'll help when you're applying for a job one day. It'll help when you're in college. You really can't go wrong. Those are all things that are important for the rest of your life.
Okay, very good. Those are all great points. Being in high school, even in middle school, it can be stressful. How do you guys deal with peer pressure and your people that you go to school with? Sometimes you might get pressured into doing things maybe you don't want to do. How do you guys deal with that?
You have to remember what your values are and what your goals are, and kind of think to yourself, if I'm going to make this choice, is that going to jeopardize what my goals for the future are? And if the answer is yes, it's not worth it, no matter what it is. And if your friends are the kind of people that make you feel bad for making a choice like that, they're not your real friends. Your real friends will encourage you to make the right choice for your future and for your goals. So it's really not worth one night or one fun thing if it's going to jeopardize what really matters.
Yeah, adding to what Claire said, it's all about surrounding yourself with the right people who want to make the decisions that you agree with and who are responsible, and who you'd be okay with hanging out and know that will do the right thing.
Building on with that, I would say think about what you want to do with your future. First, honestly, I would start thinking about it early on, so one, you're prepared anyway for when it comes time to be a senior. But think about what you want for your future. If something that you do in high school because of peer pressure is going to change something that you want to do in the future and make it so you can't do that, it isn't something that you want to do. You just have to think about what you want to do, what your end goals are in life.
Yeah, and the easiest way to avoid that peer pressure is like what Lauren said. As long as you have the right people around you, you're never even going to feel any peer pressure.
Okay. Kind of goes into the next question. Have you guys, any of you ever experienced any bullying? If so, what have you found is the best way to handle it? You want to take this one?
I mean, I haven't really had any troubles with anything close to bullying. But if I were to, there's a lot of teachers. Every teacher at the high school is there for you, and they're all going to be your friend first. So you can talk to any one of them about any problems that you're having.
Yeah, and I would probably say, that's the same for middle school too. If you're being bullied, that there's a bunch of great teachers at the middle school too that would be willing to help, and lend a ear if you need to talk about something, and and get you help that need to. So, anybody else have anything to add on that one?
I'm kind of going to go and jump back to the last question also with this.
Mhm.
Find a teacher that you really respect and trust that you can talk to about these things. If you ever have any kind of issue, even if it's something at home, I've had issues in my past with things that have been at my house, within my family, and I found the teachers who I honestly trust, and I have multiple of them that I will go and talk to.
Yeah, great point. Okay, so tell us about a time that you failed or learned a lesson the hard way. What did you learn from it? So is there
Okay, I'll start it off.
Go ahead.
All right, so there have been a few times where you get assigned projects and you're like, okay, I'll just save it. I'll do it another day. I'll do it the next week. It's fine. It'll be fine. And then so sometimes I've procrastinated projects so long where I have to do it the night or 2 days before the project's due. And so then I'll end up spending like the whole night working on that project, which is not good at all. So from what I've learned from that is you should get your stuff done early and not procrastinate it, because that way it'll be out of your mind. You won't have to worry about it. And then you can focus on things that you actually want to do and not like homework or projects.
I learned the same sort of thing as Lauren did. Oh, it was either my sophomore year or last year. I think it was last year at the beginning of the school year before all this stuff hit. And I ended up taking a criminology course through Indian Hills online. And with that, you are teaching yourself the whole time because it's a college course. You're teaching yourself the whole time. And I probably was not the best teacher for myself. And I ended up not doing so hot in the class. I still passed, but barely.
Something that I didn't know how to do when I entered high school, and I'm not sure if I really fully know how to do it now, is study for a test. Like, properly sit down and study. It's a skill you will definitely need. And I'm sure like a lot of you have been able to make it through middle school without having to actually sit down and study, like, oh yeah, I remember this stuff. I'll guess a couple, it'll be fine. But you definitely will need to know how to do that in high school, and now is a great time to learn. You just need to figure out what method works for you. There's lots. You can literally Google different study methods and see what you can come up with. But knowing how to do that and do it effectively will put you leaps and bounds ahead.
Right. I mean, and that's important because, once you get to the high school, every class counts. And so if you fail a class, you will have to make that up to get the credit back if you are wanting to graduate and graduate on time. So that's a great point about, learning good study habits early. So anybody else have anything to add on that one?
One thing that I struggle with a lot is asking teachers questions. So like for our AP Calc class, it's online right now, and so it's a lot of you have to know when to stop and ask questions, because if you get confused, you'll just get confused on the next thing and the next thing, and it's just kind of a little domino effect. And so I didn't ask questions. I was just so scared to like reach out to our teacher, Mrs. Higgins, because I always wanted to try and figure things out on my own. But that led to last semester I didn't do so good, and I almost ended up losing my 4.0 because of it. But the last minute I started reaching out and I started asking Mrs. Higgins lots of questions, and I was able to raise up my grade again, and I did okay with it in the end. But that's something that I struggle with, like even in middle school. But you just need to learn when the point is to just start asking questions, because it's okay and the teacher's going to be there to help you.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, can't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's school, or even in life. If you need help outside of school, you can't be afraid to ask for help. So that's another great point. Okay. Let's see. What's one thing that you have had to learn about high school? That one thing that no one has told you. So what's one thing that you've had to learn that nobody told you about beforehand?
Well, everybody always tells you in middle school that it's easy to get involved, but it is really, really easy to get involved. If you're thinking about joining a club or a sport, you can just show up, talk to the advisor, the coach, and they'll be more than willing to do whatever they can to make sure you're comfortable and really get you involved. It is just so, so easy. Whatever you're even remotely involved in, you should look into.
Yeah, to piggyback onto that, there's a lot of coaches and leaders of groups that are very willing to help and cooperate so that you can do two different things even at the same time. There's someone in our fall play that also did cross country at the same time, and they made it work so that they could be involved in both things. And another thing that I learned about high school and the difference between high school and middle school, it's not something that you need to know, but it's just something to think about. Like in middle school, everyone takes pretty much the same classes and you get to see a lot of everybody in the school. But then when you go to high school, you all branch off into these different classes that you take, and you don't really see a lot of the people that you used to in middle school. And that's something that I think we took for granted in middle school. And now there's just last term, especially even now, because there's the hybrid classes and we're all split up. Like last term, I think I saw a max of 10 people per day, different people. And yeah, it's just something that I just took for granted in middle school, I think.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, it's been definitely a challenging year in terms of the classes and the way they're set up. But yeah, you're right. There's a big difference between middle school, where you have all your classes are with the same group of kids. Then when you get to the high school, you might have a class with juniors or sophomores mixed into it. So they do get mixed up a little bit. So, I mean, that's something to think about. And that's a good point, Samara. Anybody else have anything? Go ahead, Blair. Sorry.
One thing that I had learned that kind of goes back with one of the other questions is listen to your teachers in middle school. They will tell you that high school teachers do not tell you when you need to get work done and everything else. It is a lot more challenging, and you just kind of have to learn as you go about how to get things done and think about how long it's going to take you to do a certain project. And yeah, to be honest, if you're able to push off a project just a little bit, just because of the things that will happen with it, you probably could, but it's best to start them early.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Blair. I mean, it goes back to your time management in terms of being prepared. And yeah, you're right. High school teachers, I believe, expect students to come in and be able to track your assignments and, write down your due dates and, try to keep track of when everything is supposed to be done. So I believe there is that expectation when you come to the high school. And that's just the kind of the way it's set up. But then again, like we mentioned earlier, if you're needing help, don't be afraid to reach out and talk to a teacher as well. So we're definitely willing to work with you, and I'm sure like all teachers are. So, but that's a good point.
One more thing on
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna kind of say the cheesy answer. Take advantage of it. High school, there's only 4 years, but they go by so fast. And it's really one of the best times that you can have. So join all the clubs. Even if you're not totally sure about it, you can always say, okay, this isn't for me. I'm going to try something else. There's no penalty to quitting a club. So take advantage of every opportunity you can.
Okay, so that kind of gets to our last question is, if you could give the eighth graders a piece of advice about high school, what would you say? So this is kind of like our final advice for our eighth graders coming up next year.
I would say get involved. The more you get involved, the more friends you make, the more memories you have, and the more experience you have. Especially when you get to your senior year and you start filling out scholarship applications. The more that you've been involved with, the better. Yeah.
Going off of what Lauren said, get involved in school and out of school, because there are scholarships with things that you wouldn't even realize. But another thing that I would say is time management, because you always are going to need that in your life, and it's a good thing to learn early. And just be wise with the decisions that you're going to make.
My one piece of advice is to get a planner. It does not have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be expensive. Just get a planner and write down everything, every due date, every activity, everything you schedule, because there would be days, I say when I was in high school, I'm still in high school, but like I would go to school early for a meeting. I'd go to school, I'd go to a cross country meet, I'd go to marching band. I wouldn't get home that night until like 9:30, and then I'd still have to do homework. So if you don't keep track of all that stuff, it can be so easy to forget things, so easy to get behind in school. So just write it all down. Every time you hear a due date, write it down, and it will make your life so much easier.
I'm going to agree with Claire on that. On several times, my planner has saved me so many times. And another thing is, so when you get to high school, you're going to be required to take one speech class, and there's going to be two options. There's going to be speech, and then there's going to be public speaking. And I've taken both of them just because I like public speaking. And take public speaking. It's both the classes are virtually the same thing, the same topics. But public speaking, you get a college credit for it. But don't be afraid of that just because it's going to be, oh, it's for college, it's going to be harder. It's really not. It's the same exact thing, which leads me to like my next point. Don't be afraid to take the difficult classes. A lot of times they turn out to be so much fun, like advanced physics and advanced chem. Those two, I love those classes so much. And then there's AP English Lit. It's kind of an acquired taste, but I love the class so much.
Yeah, one thing that I would say is that you're definitely going to get really busy, and everybody tells you that high school goes by really fast, and it's hard to believe when you first get started with it, but it goes by really fast. So don't forget to just stop for a minute and enjoy where you are with school and with your activities.
Awesome. Those are great pieces of advice. And one more thing I'd like to say, bouncing off Samara's comments, were that, she found a lot of classes that she liked, but there's also, we have classes that involve welding, there's ag classes, there's woodworking, there's computer classes. So there's a lot of different classes that reach a wide variety of students. And so, with those, you'll be able to find something that you're interested in, and really, hopefully you can really take into it. Like, for example, welding, there's a welding academy through Indian Hills, so if that's something you really like to do, then we can get you involved in that. But it's a great chance for you to expand your horizons and try new things. And there's some great opportunities here at the high school. So I want to thank all of you guys for joining in our panel. I remember you guys were back in middle school, and you at one time listened to seniors talk at the Trojan Pride panel. So now it was your turn to do so. So I appreciate you doing that. And best of luck to you guys through the rest of your senior year and moving on. So with that, our meeting is done. So thank you.